Welcome everyone, it's Denise DiGrigoli here on the HN Network live every Tuesday with a show called The Drive. The Drive seeks to bring people, places, ideas, organizations, innovators, entrepreneurs that move us forward mindfully and consciously. And every week we start with a mindful minute. Now, I'm not going to be here next week, so I wanted to bring Thanksgiving to the forefront of our conversation today. There's lots to be thankful for, in spite of what you perceive as maybe things you can't be thankful for. I'd like to start off by reminding us what my friend James Mape said on the show a few weeks ago. If you bring gratitude into the forefront of your life every day, even for a little bit, there's no room for fear to sneak in. So this Thanksgiving, yes, it's important to, contribute to the food bank, but it's also important to spend time with people that you love and that you respect, that maybe you haven't seen, that you can share your gratitude with. Every year we go to, gratitude helps us see what is there instead of what isn't. Okay. Every year we go to my Aunt Pat and my Uncle Pete's in the Berkshires, and it's sort of a mix mash of whoever can make it, and we go around the room and we all say what we're thankful for that year. It's an incredibly empowering moment, and it's one that people come from all over to be part of. So try it this year and maybe make a little note, make a journal of it. It's very powerful years after to look back year after year what you were thankful for. Again, when you're in a mode of gratitude, there's little room for fear. So if you got my email this morning, you know that we're talking about unexpected fear, unexpected tragic events, things that maybe turn our life upside down, and what we can do to empower ourselves to move forward, and also to be a role model to others, because when we empower ourselves, we ultimately empower the lives of those that we touch. That brings me to Joe Matthews, our guest today. Thanks for coming on, Joe.
Hello,
Pleasure
Denise.
to see you.
Likewise.
Joe, first Vice President of Morgan Stanley.
Yes.
Adjunct Professor at Fairfield U and New York University.
Yes.
And as I said in my email, devoted dad and a guy that likes to see people succeed.
Absolutely.
But you have a really interesting story to tell us, which is a few years ago you had something very unforeseen happen that kind of threw you off your path.
Yep.
Can you give us a little background on that?
Of course. So 4 years ago, Easter night, family and I were sleeping. We had a great dinner with our family, grateful for everybody being there and happy and enjoying the meal and being at church together. And we woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning for me to discover that there was a curtain on fire.
Wow.
On the first floor. Wow was right. So of course my blood pressure immediately tripled. The adrenaline started flowing. Fortunately, being the son of a Bridgeport firefighter, I knew what to do in terms of being able to kind of gather the troops up and get everybody out. But frankly, it was a very tragic experience.
That goes up in seconds.
The one thing my father always said was, the first thing you do is get everybody out of the house. Don't look for your wallet. Don't put your pants on. Just get out, because you'll never understand how quickly fire spreads. And you hit the nail right on the head. To be inside there and to see it happen live was surreal at best, and frightening in hindsight. But fortunately, I was kind of pre-programmed from the time I could walk to know what to do.
So you had a little bit of extra insight.
Yes,
Yeah.
and it was all, it was kind of built in and embedded, and fortunately I didn't have to do a lot of thinking in order to execute. But at the end of the day, we were, shortly after
There's a photo of your home.
Yeah, oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, I think we took that off another Newsline source. So that's how quick that went up, probably under 10 minutes.
Yes, and fortunately we heard the glass break, because my wife and I woke up thinking it was the cat who my daughters love dearly, but who gets into trouble every now and then up on the counter swatting at a glass or something. And another fortunate part was that I could see the fire from the top of the stairs, so I could immediately do something as opposed to just go back to bed and maybe minutes later or more than that, the fire being even that much greater. So
there was a little luck there, unfortunately.
Yes.
Well, not looking down your stairs, looking at fires,
Right.
not so lucky, but yes, kind of.
Right. Well, it was lucky that there wasn't smoke upstairs. It was lucky that the fire had started on the outside of the house. So what I had seen was just a small fraction of what had already occurred. Oh. But if it were the other way around, it could have been a much more difficult escape.
So was everybody upstairs at the time?
Everybody was sleeping.
Wow. So how many, you have 2 daughters and 1 son?
Correct.
And they were all dead asleep?
Dead asleep.
And then what'd you do, run around and get them?
I got downstairs, found a way we could get out of the house.
Okay.
By then my wife had already brought down her 2 daughters. I put them to the back of the house where the exit was safe to leave the house. Then she had come back down with the dog. She got to the back of the house, and I screamed for our son, who sleeps very well, as any 18-year-old boy did.
Yeah, right.
And he still sleeps very well at 21. Believe me, much to my chagrin, but that's for a different show.
Yeah, that's another show.
Right, exactly. So I had to scream, and I wanted to make sure nobody came back in the house, so I stayed at the bottom of the stairs. Finally, he kind of stumbles down the hallway, looks down into his disbelief. In the meantime, a backdraft had come over me and had gone up the stairs. So it was like a flamethrower going up the stairs. And he walked at the moment it had started to go up to see that. And of course, he went from being half asleep to his eyes about that wide open. And yeah.
Wow.
And at that point, I said, "You've got to come down these stairs
You got to fly
right
down.
now." And it's kind of being just woken up. He was a little groggy still, but he did run through the fire.
Wow.
Jumped the last handful of stairs. I grabbed him, ran outside, and frankly, I thought he was on fire. I never looked back until I got outside, and by the grace of God, he was able to get through those flames with not a scratch.
So when you go through something like that, you have your family, but there's not a material thing you have. I don't think you have your toothbrush, you don't have your shoes, if you're on any medication,
All gone.
you're all gone.
Right.
So, the show today is about, yes, being thankful and empowering ourselves, but that's a whole lot of fear. So then what's the next step? You're outside and your house is burning down. Now
Right.
what do we do?
Well, fortunately, the Red Cross showed up, tapped us on the shoulder. They helped. I would say that the one thing to do is embrace resources around you. Don't be closed-minded. Be able to adapt, right? Because life throws curveballs, right? We're full of, life's full of exogenous or unpredictable events that occur that we have no control over. So at that point, you just got to make the best of where you are, what you can do, and look forward. Somebody told me a long time ago, there's no future in the past.
Right.
So at that point, the house was on fire, everybody was out, the dog was out, the cat was out, everything in there was material at that point, and we were all fortunate enough to be able to kind of gather around and put our heads together and say, okay, we're going to get through this.
Did you and your wife feel prepared to get through it at that point?
Boy, that's a good question. I would say we probably would have answered yes, but
At that time.
But the reality is we were marginally prepared to get through it.
And when you say marginally prepared, paint a picture of what marginally is.
Marginal would be, again, being accepting of resources, whether it be people helping out through donations, clothes, food, embracing what the Red Cross did in terms of being able to get medication for my wife and children, accepting our sister-in-law taking us in to live with them for a while, becoming very familiar and friendly with our insurance agent.
Yeah.
Right?
That's a warm, cozy relationship
Yeah,
off
it's
the
wonderful.
bat.
Yeah, exactly. Especially after your house is burned to the ground. But again, just being mindful of everything that's going on around you and trying to make the best decision with the information you have at hand.
So, looking back, that was marginal. Now, how would you be differently prepared? Because really, the whole thing on the show is if we allow one of our listeners or viewers to move forward, get unstuck, reshape or frame the way they view things, then we've done our job. And I think a lot of us think we're prepared, or we don't worry about it until something happens that doesn't go our way, right?
Absolutely.
And there's many tragedies in life, and I'm sorry for yours certainly, and
Thank you.
thankful that you're sharing it. But what can we tell people right now? What is the level of preparedness you have right now? And of course, we know you're the financial guy,
Right.
So we're going to assume you're going to say financial, but tell
Correct.
us about that.
So one thing I would advocate everybody doing is using an aggregation tool to be able to access all of your financial information via one password and username. Because unfortunately what happens in a fire, the piece of paper that you've got your passwords and username on burns like everything else. So to try to be able to recollect, or recall, all of those different passwords is
Horrible.
at best. So if you have...
I can't even do it on a regular day.
I can't either, but that's from age, by the way, for both of us. But at the end of the day, if you have that one tool that allows you, and many financial institutions have it, that collects your information from payroll to retirement accounts to investment accounts to bank accounts, checking accounts, pensions, loans that you have, it'll pull it all together.
And where is this kept?
It's kept and stored at the financial institution that
do
you use.
business.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'd venture to say a great deal of our listeners are women, not all though, certainly. So across the board, what if you're not prepared at all? Like, what is your first step? Or maybe, It could be the death of a spouse. It
Right.
could be the birth of a baby. It could be the results of our election. It could be anything that's unearthing you right now. What is the first step to feeling a little more prepared? Because I believe when you're, I mean, yes, you've got to be physically fit to be empowered, but I believe that being financially astute is one of the
Right.
most empowering things you can do. I also know it's one of the things that we need to work on the most.
Correct.
So for somebody that's uneasy and doesn't want to ask the question, what can we do to get them moving?
I think what you need to do is sit down and assess what you're trying to accomplish in life in terms of what your goals are, and we're talking about finances now. Understand, what you think you want your retirement to look like, how, if you have kids, how you want to help them, whether it's college funding or post-college funding, weddings, things of that nature, down payment on a house. It might be helping siblings or family members that need help. It could be a whole litany of different things, but by identifying what those goals are is the first step in understanding what you need to do to be able to fulfill those goals, or at least put yourself in a position where you have a high probability of being able to do that. Because again, as with any type of investments, things don't go, life doesn't move in a linear fashion. As much as we would all like it to be a straight line between where we are now and where we're going, for sure investments don't do that. And we've seen that the last week.
Right.
An awful lot of it.
Yes. And I want to talk more about that in the next segment coming up. And
Sure.
I also want to talk more about how you manage to rebuild what you had and bring your family along
Right.
through that fear, what would be, I would assume, is a fear-based situation,
Right.
and bring them into a place where they would feel comfortable. And I want to also talk about in that next segment, people that have fear to even remotely put that first dollar in savings,
Right.
because maybe they don't understand. Okay, we're going to be right back in 2 minutes. We've got a lot to talk about in the next few segments. Tune back in. It's a story about being thankful for all the things that we have, especially someone like Joe coming on to shift us forward, savings, retirement. It's good stuff. We'll be right back.
Discover a world of wellness in the heart of New Canaan. Halo Studios, New Canaan's first collaborative wellness center, offers you the freedom to choose from the best and latest health, fitness, and wellness options. Inside Halo Studios, you'll find all the wellness experts you need at places like Halo Fitness, Priority Wellness, and Sama Yoga Center. Come by for a free wellness assessment, open 7 days a week at 45 Grove Street. For more information, visit halostudios.com or call 203-594-9909.
I really wanted something that felt like a home. Coming from a big house, I wanted the feel of a home as opposed to a condo. New Canaan is 6 minutes down the road. New Canaan's a beautiful little town to walk around. I work in Westport. My commute is 20 minutes. It's close to Westchester, where my family is, so the location is ideal. There is no other townhome that compares in the area. This is where I want to be.
On time, done right, safe and reliable. MrHandymanCT.com.
Let our satisfied customers tell it.
I have called Mr. Handyman for every reason, every occasion, every broken item, every leak. They have bailed me out on many occasions, and I would recommend them to anyone.
For any project, large or small.
MrHandymanCT.com.
Have a sports injury or a slip and fall that needs immediate care? Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care gives you direct access to an orthopedic specialist fast, without an appointment. Biking, golf, tennis, soccer, whatever the sports injury is, sprain or fracture, Coastal Ortho Express can help. Coastal Ortho Express Urgent Care, open Monday through Saturday, now in 2 locations. The iPark building at 761 Main Avenue in Norwalk and 36 Old Kings Highway South in Darien. Or go to coastalorthoexpress.com, like them on Facebook.
When it comes to local entertainment, we've got it all.
From movies, local artists, etiquette, and more,
Watch HAN Arts and Leisure with me, Steve Coulter, and our Arts and Leisure editor, Sally Sanders, Mondays at 12:30, right here on the HAN Network.
We're looking for ways to be thankful on the heels of Thanksgiving, and we're also talking about how to be empowered in the event of unexpected tragedy or things that happen that don't really align with where we want to take our life. And we're talking about being prepared with Joe Matthews of Morgan Stanley, who had, unfortunately, a fire in his house that led to a great amount of change in your family. So everybody's sort of getting over the shock. Now what happens? How do you bring your family through that? You've got young children,
Right.
and your homestead is burned to the ground, and you're prepared, but what happens?
We try to get back to normal as quickly as possible, as difficult of a task as that can be, because a lot of times you don't understand what normal is because you take it for granted,
Right.
right? You take it for granted that when you come home, your house is going to be there and that your paycheck's going to go to your checking account and every other thing that just happens kind of on autopilot. So the first step is to kind of step back and assess, okay, what do I need to do? Okay, unfortunately, we had to move 4 times post the fire. So the first place we lived was with our sister-in-law for a short period of time with 10 people and 5 animals in a 4-bedroom house. Yeah, laugh.
That's a
Laughing.
Thanksgiving dinner?
Right, and I would wake up in the middle of the night with nightmares, and so it was not anyway, so we couldn't get out of there quick enough, and it wasn't because of, how they treated us, it just wasn't the right place. From there we moved to right across the street over here in a small apartment while we were looking for a rental house. Fortunately enough, the school system was kind enough to keep our kids in the school because we weren't living in the town at the time, and they were very accommodating in terms of how the teachers dealt with having to drive there, with what our kids were going through, a little extra, kind of TLC. But I would say just kind of trying to get back as quickly as possible to that normal routine, as much as normal, as much as normal can be for a lot of people, is critical. Because there's enough stress involved with going through something like that. You don't need that day-to-day, those day-to-day things that you're comfortable with just occurring, not happening.
So taking that and what you learn from your students while you're teaching, and sort of, we talked about the psychology of money off air and some of the biases that people have that prohibit them from doing certain things. How do you get people to move forward? Do they look at their biases? Do they look at their unpreparedness? Because I feel like even on the heels of some of the events that have happened in the past couple weeks, it seems to me like everyone's crying out that they weren't prepared, right? And I think when we're prepared, and the reason why I'm starting with money today, and this will be the course of some other conversations over the next few weeks about other things, I think money is an anchor, right? When you have a little bit of money and you have it in the right spot, you feel more prepared. Now, of course, I'm talking from my side of the fence too.
Sure.
But I want to hear, like, what do you see and what do you do about that with your students and probably with your clients? Like, what is it that you do, or what can you advise those of us listening that will get you to move forward and be prepared? Because I think it's a word we throw around lightly.
Yeah, we do. We do as a society. I would say education's a big part of it. Understanding, opening people's eyes to the consequences of their actions or inactions, as importantly, and just getting them to understand that life is full of unpredictable events, curveballs that you have no control over. But by being prepared to be able to adapt and work through that, it's going to make for a lot better experience and a lot better life, frankly, whether it's from a financial perspective or otherwise, psychologically, physically, to just be able to step back and say, you know what? Hey, I do have some rainy day money set aside. Okay.
Rainy day money is important, right?
Absolutely, and the reason for that is, I just had this discussion yesterday with somebody. Our stock market, is an example, every year has a significant move from its high to its low for a different reason every year at a different point in time every year. If you happen to be going through some tragic event where you need to access monies, okay, and it happens to be something like that is happening, or even worse than something like that, and you've got to go in and access those monies that are really longer term in nature to fund something that's going to happen way down the road, like a child or a grandchild's education, or like a retirement, okay, or like a second home. You might be doing it at a very inopportune time and at a significant disadvantage to trying to achieve your goals. So that rainy day money is there for that rainy day.
Right. And do a lot of people have rainy day money?
Not enough.
Not enough. So, okay, let's move that first rock. How do we get them to start? Like, what's the number one? How do you get someone to start that?
Again, it's an education process. You have to sit people down and say, okay, and I can speak from life experience.
Right.
Okay,
So you tell them, like, don't wait till your house burns down to have some rainy day money.
Right. And I just started a new job just prior to that. So you want to talk about, change creates anxiety.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of anxiety going on with a new job and the house fire. But by having that set aside, it allows I would say an ease of mind to be able to take that next leap forward, which is to start to take on risk in your life. And that risk may be starting a new career. That risk may be going out and looking for that vacation home. That risk may be taking a little more risk in your investment portfolio. It could be any combination of all of those.
So, like, sort of making that first move also empowers you to do other things.
Absolutely.
So tell me, I don't want to call it a recovery process, but I guess I'll call it a recovery process. People that are in a change mode after something tragic, what is a typical recovery process?
Grief, right?
Right.
Maybe some level of grief, anger. I think it was Kubler-Ross who spoke about the 8 stages of death, and I think he could take a lot of those emotions and apply those to tragic events. And I think that the ultimate way, is to understand what you're feeling and to address it and not hide it. And I know us guys have a tendency to think things, are just going to go away on their own.
Put it under the carpet.
Right. And I can tell you, 3.5, 4 years after the fire, I woke up and said, I didn't realize how much it had impacted me. I knew when I ran out of the house, I went, as everybody typically does, go into shock.
Right.
So I knew that had happened, but I didn't realize over the following 2-3 years how much it had impacted me in many different ways. And ultimately, I think it's created a positive because I've learned more about the human mind. I've learned more about how to adapt and address things. I've learned more how to become a better teacher, how to become a better advisor to clients.
And why do you think that happened? Like, what clicked for you?
I'm still trying to figure that out.
Is it like just a state of gratitude that you're here and your family's here?
Yeah.
So you see with a different set of lens.
My Irish Catholic mother would tell me it was probably an epiphany of some sort, but I think it's it's a combination of that. You step back and say, wow, you know what? This is how my life looks, and there's a lot of good things that are happening.
For those that maybe are in career transition, or maybe thinking about starting a business, or maybe mom's returning to work, whatever it might be, they might believe that they don't have the financial means, or maybe they've empowered someone else to take care of their financial means, and so they might be feeling like really stuck. What can we say to those folks? Like, what can they do to get out of their own way, to at least put together a document, as you said in the beginning of the show, that organizes everything into one spot, because that knowledge is power? What can we do to?
Right, so there are documents. My firm happens to have a document. It's a family records organizer where you've got 13 different categories, everything from medical, financial, the debt you owe, your wills, again, a whole slew of different categories. And by sitting down and listen, it can be a tedious process at first. And most of us would rather sit down and watch the Jets lose on Sunday or something like that.
Right,
as opposed to
football.
Right, as opposed to do something like that. But again, put your front foot forward and just get the process going. And by pulling all of that together, you'll understand where you are today. And by understanding where you are today, you'll be able to look forward and identify those goals you're trying to accomplish and see what you need to do between today and when you want those goals accomplished. And it's not easy.
No, it's not easy. What would you think would be the number one important thing, if you were going to break that down into small baby steps, they could do first? Are they looking at their insurance? Are they looking at just simple passwords? Are they looking at getting a job? Like, what? I mean, I know, and those are 3 very, very different things, but what would you say? Because I think a lot of people right now, from what I'm hearing, they feel like, sky's falling in. They're not knowing where to turn and why to turn, and I feel like there's a lot of self-doubt. What can we do to, I want to give them one actionable step. For me, I'm going to put the password somewhere.
Yeah, I think that's a great one. I think just taking a look at where you are today and seeing where you want to be, and that might be, I want to retire at 55 because I want to travel or write a book or whatever it might be. Well, you need to be able to, from a financial perspective, and maybe from an educational perspective, and maybe from a work experience and life experience perspective, you might need to do a lot of things or some things or no things to be able to get into that position at that point in time. And you've got to modify or adjust your behavior in order to be realistic about that coming to
Do
fruition.
you help your clients vet their ideas? Like if they say,
Sure.
I really want to write a book, but
Yeah, yes, I will.
Yeah.
I mean, I write a little bit too, so yeah, I would. It's
Yeah.
kind of interest to me.
So I find too, people are a little unrealistic about what certain things take, and I find like people might have these great dreams that they shelve. You know, a lot of procrastination goes on.
Correct.
How do we get them out of the procrastination mode? That could be me a little bit too.
Yeah, a little
On certain things, other things I don't procrastinate at all.
push.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt. And I think again, education helps a lot. Just getting people to open their eyes and understand that to accomplish things, it takes work.
Mm-hmm. And how do you do that with your children? Or how do we do that with our children? I shouldn't single yours out. How do we encourage our children to take an empowering role over their finances from the very, very beginning? Other than get a job.
Right. Well,
Yeah,
that's
get
a
a
good
job.
first. Believe me. Be a good role model.
Yeah. And what does that look like? Like what can parents do? Because we have a lot of maybe not such great role modeling
Right.
around here. We give things away maybe too freely, in my opinion.
Correct.
Right?
So showing them the benefits of, and some emotional, financial benefits of saving money, the emotional and frankly could be financial benefits of volunteering, being a mentor, giving back to the community you live in.
What are the emotional benefits of saving money?
It's not waking up when you're 60 in a cold sweat saying what just happened. You may have a philanthropic intent. You may have gone to school, grammar school, a high school, a college, graduate school that you have an affinity towards, and it might be being able to fund some kids, unfortunate kids' college education. It may be any number of different things, and waking up when there's not enough time left. What's the old saying? Hope isn't a strategy,
Right.
right?
No.
Right.
Hope is not a strategy.
No, it doesn't work. It feels good,
Yeah.
but it doesn't work.
No. Okay, so let's put together a quick scenario of a strategic plan. We've got people that want to start saving.
Right.
They want to start saving for their retirement. They want to look at their insurance. They want to be prepared. God
Right.
forbid their house burns down, or they lose a spouse, or they don't feel comfortable about the way things are looking for their community.
Right.
What can we do? Let's give them an outline, other than send them to your website and look you up on LinkedIn.
I think what you want to do is understand what retirement looks like. And for most people, they assume that they don't understand how long they're going to live based
And
on actual tables.
that's increased now.
It increases every year.
So you told me offline, what is it for women?
Mid-80s,
Mid-80s.
and a few years less for men.
Okay.
But
That's significantly up.
absolutely. And with medical innovation and a better understanding of healthy living and any number of different things, people are going to continue to live longer.
Right.
So with that in mind, understanding you might be retired for 20 or 25 years, and the reality is, a dozen eggs costs more a year from now than it did today, or does today.
Right.
So the cost of living perpetually goes higher. One of the largest expenses in retirement, believe it or not, is health care. It's a large expense. So if you start to pull all those things together, you can gain an understanding of and backtrack into what do I need to do today.
Feels daunting.
It can be very daunting, but it's all about direction. If you're moving in the right direction, success begets success. Positive, emotions beget more positive emotions, and as people find that they're actually accomplishing something with their finances, they have a tendency to become even better or
They
more
glom
efficient.
onto it.
Absolutely.
They feel the results.
Absolutely.
So I feel when you get your financial house in order, it almost opens up so many other things. Like it expands your world, I guess, because you feel secure.
Absolutely.
You have any success stories you want to share where, like, maybe with your own family members or whatnot, that when they got themselves financially in a spot they feel comfortable with, it opened up other arenas?
Sure. I have an example where somebody ended up going back to school for a career change, was able to, because of the their diligence in saving and being able to say, okay, I can take the risk of a career change and time off in order to be able to start with the education required for this new career. And that can be daunting, right? Because you're stepping out of your comfort zone.
Big time.
Leaving everything that you know.
For a huge change.
Right, and let's face it, we become complacent and comfortable with what we know.
Right.
And what we don't know creates fear and anxiety. So as a function of that, it helps do that, and it creates freedom.
Freedom.
That's
I love
something.
the word freedom.
Yeah.
And on that note, we're going to take a quick 2-minute break, and we'll be right back. It's all about how you live your life, how you fuel your mind, your body, your spirit that ultimately creates the life you live. We hope every Tuesday you enjoy tuning in here, Fuel It Well on the Drive here on the HAN Network. And I'm very thankful for all of the team here at HAN. It's an incredible opportunity to be with you guys each and every week. We'll be right back.
This is now 44 years I've been in this business. Digital came along. After I was in business for about 6 years, I had to totally reinvent the business. So I had to make a tremendous investment in my business. And Milford Bank was there for me. I don't really just consider Milford Bank a bank. I consider them a trusted partner in my business. My name is Jim Wilson, owner of Milford Photo. I choose to bank with Milford Bank.
As you're getting back to your regular schedules, we're excited to get back to doing what we do best, offering you the freshest seasonal fare and all the ingredients for a healthy start to school. So shop Walter Stewart's for everything fresh, from A, apples to Z, zucchini, and from cotton candy grapes to back to nature all-natural snack bags. We save you time by stocking all of your favorite back-to-school essentials under one roof. Walter Stewart's Market, 229 Elm Street, or shop online at stewartsmarket.com. Want to reach new heights in your fitness and health goals? Find what you're looking for at Elevation Spin, Train, and TRX in Georgetown, Connecticut. Elevation Spin gives you purposeful spinning workouts inspired by the road. We encourage monitoring of heart rate and energy zones. Elevation also offers customized personal training with dedicated professionals passionate about helping you reach your goals. And let us motivate you to reach greater performance and functionality with TRX suspension training, using your own body weight for an incredible dynamic workout. Located at 4 Old Mill Road in Georgetown, call Elevation at 203-544-9503 or visit elevationspintraintrx.com for more.
For unique and special holiday gifts, come to Touch of Sedona, a spiritual boutique located in the heart of Ridgefield, Connecticut. We have plenty of unique pieces, including Native American and equestrian jewelry, crystals, candles, incense, and books, as well as an ever-changing showcase of artists, intuitive practitioners, healers, and lots more. Happy holidays from Touch of Sedona, 452 Main Street in Ridgefield. Visit us today. Open 7 days a week.
Give your day a jumpstart with the latest news, sports, weather, and more on Coffee Break, live on the HAN Network, weekdays at 11 a.m. Connecticut news doesn't get any more local than on Coffee Break. If you're watching this broadcast, you're not alone. The HAN Network is available for 200,000 Connecticut cable customers on the Frontier Network. And we've also reached 1.7 million viewers on our free live streaming sports, news, and entertainment broadcasts. To reach our rapidly growing audience, contact Advertising Director Jessica Murrin at 203-273-7312 or email jessica@han.network.
You know, we always have predispositions to what we believe to be true, and our biases sort of shape the world we live. It's interesting when we are, as humans, we're hardwired to seek evidence based on our beliefs, and that's why it's so hard to change our beliefs at times. We're talking today about being thankful and keeping gratitude in our life so that we don't let the fear creep in, regardless of what's going on, and how unexpected tragic events can really throw us off our kilter. So Joe teaches as an adjunct at Fairfield University and New York University, in addition to being first vice president at Morgan Stanley. Now, I really want to hear from you because you teach the psychology of money, so to speak.
Right.
People have biases, right? Well, we certainly have seen that from the past election, right? And then we have biases in the way we operate amongst our family, our friends, and how we live our lives. So I know I have had biases on the way I viewed my finances. What do you see, what is common? I hope I'm not one of the common ones, but I probably am. What is commonly a bias that holds people back?
Oh gosh, there's so many. It could be anything from anchoring bias, which is holding out to one thing that you believe to be true without regard for anything else that's happening around you to disprove that.
Yeah.
And that could be putting $100,000 into an investment. That could be a house or any other thing, and holding on to the notion that you need to be able to sell it for at least that or greater, let's face it, the person who's going to buy that investment from you doesn't really care what you paid for it, right? They're seeking fair market value or something lower than that. So we're seeing it all around here in Fairfield County with homes, unfortunately, that are well below where they were 10 years ago, and people throwing numbers out that really, unfortunately, aren't realistic to where those homes are going to sell. It could be a predisposition towards, again, thinking differently than the way you currently do. It could be snake bite bias, which is something where one little thing happened to you and you immediately take that piece of information, and it's negative, of course, and use that to paint a broad picture of why you don't want to do anything that seems remotely related to that.
Yeah. Troy's probably chuckling right now. Go ahead.
Hindsight bias, right? How many of us drive our cars looking out the rearview mirror?
Yeah.
Nobody. But a lot of people make investment decisions looking at what has happened, as opposed to, as Wayne Gretzky said it so eloquently, skating to where the hockey puck is going.
Right.
We should be looking forward, right? And trying to assess the fact pattern that we think is going to unfold, and then based on that, make the best decisions we can.
Right.
So there's a litany of different biases, and unfortunately, what ends up happening is as those biases present themselves, they get in the way of you and I and everybody else making the best and most rational decision we can.
Now, I'll take it a step further. Are there gender tilts there within those biases? For example, are women typically more biased X way, or are men more biased anchor way? Or, I mean, what are you seeing? And there's a reason why I'm asking the question.
I would say at some level there is, but I think in general we're all predisposed to the spectrum. Again, it's probably more based on, I would say, your life experiences, your work experience, your financial experiences, things of that nature are probably more important in forming, unfortunately, those biases.
So if you have a person that really wants to change their life and they want to make some sort of movement forward, and we're going to say financial movement forward, but you find that they've got this bias that they maybe don't even see they have, that's kind of, we'll use your word, anchoring them to say they want something, but it's like doing one thing and not doing the other. How do you get them to recognize that and then flick off of it?
The easiest way to get them to recognize the mistakes that they've made in the past, obviously in a very professional and in some cases delicate way, but it's also to show them by having a repeatable and definable process as they go forward. That process, because reacting to biases is not a process. That's just an emotional state of mind that we use to react to something that we're feeling at the current moment. Okay, so intuitively, we always want to buy things when they're low and sell things when they're high, as an example. Easier said than done. By having that process in place, which keeps us from doing the opposite.
Except if you're a guy shopping at Lord & Taylor,
Correct.
you never bring
Correct.
your coupon.
Right.
And your wife is always complaining about
Correct.
it. Right. Okay.
Yeah, but what's a coupon?
Let's just clear that up.
So, yes, correct. That'll be a whole chapter in a book.
That's
someday.
another show.
But by having that process in place, and as people go through that process and see how it works effectively, they can they become students of it and adapters of it, and see the benefits of it. It's in a lot of cases it's not easy.
No. What I hear resounding through our conversation today is people must take time to educate themselves.
Yes.
Right? They must take the time to feel comfortable and educate themselves. And then second to that is be aware that we all have biases. And if you really want something, you're going to have to really take a deep look at yourself and say, okay, I want this, so I have to be able to deal with what might be conceived as, I'm not even going to say shortcoming, but a bias that I have to work through in order to get to the other side.
Correct.
I liken that to losing weight, right? I want to wear a size whatever, then I got to kind of do the work to get over there.
Correct.
I got to nix the cookies.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. So beyond that, is there any more things in terms of the psychology of money that people could benefit from knowing today? Okay, we've got our biases. What else do we have?
Boy, well, that's by far, in a way, the greatest thing.
Okay.
And if we look at, statistics show us that those biases, unfortunately, put investors in a position where they do, frankly, very poorly over long time periods. So I would say systematizing, and it might be something as simple as having money taken out of your checking account every week, every month, twice a month.
Because you don't miss it.
You don't miss it. You don't.
It's kind of like your health premium. You
Correct.
just deal.
Correct. Right. Exactly. It becomes from a cognitive perspective, it becomes an expense to you, even though it's an actual asset that you're creating.
And for those of us that are self-employed, we know we just have to make more, right?
Exactly, which incentivizes people to go out if they've got other things that they want to accomplish, to go out and work harder, or more importantly, more effectively, right? By becoming a little more introspective and saying, okay, I really need to accomplish these things, and this is the financial reality I'm in. How can I become more effective, more productive at what I do? And that might mean a career change. It might mean any number of things.
So in your dealings with the public, do you see that happen? Do you see that as people really get going, they start to become more productive? Because it seems to me like they've taken control of something very important.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. And they become they become believers in what they're doing because they see the success that they've created or that other people have helped create with them. And success begets success. It's just one of those things that as time goes on, they recognize what works and what doesn't work. What's the old saying? That people, if you keep trying to do the same thing over and over again and expect a different outcome, it's not exactly a flattering term, but it's it's not going to happen.
So now, as you're role modeling this for your family,
right?
What do you see as the shortcomings to getting the young adults or even the children to buy on and maybe not develop those biases?
I think, again, what I'm seeing in some cases, cities are putting together financial literacy programs for high school kids and just getting to understand how a checking account works, how to put money away for retirement, how to save, how different investment instruments work. And by making them a believer early on, you can avoid a lot of those biases that people accumulate as they go on in life.
Mm-hmm. I remember growing up in the Berkshires, we used to have junior achievement come in and actually taught us in 4th grade how to read the back of the sheets, the stock markets in the papers, and how to balance our checkbook, and it was instrumental. And I had great role modeling in my parents and my grandparents that were savers.
Right.
So I understand that sort of mentality, and that sort of success begets success.
Right.
So I think we start the conversation early.
Absolutely.
Now, for those that haven't started the conversation early and might want to work or understand someone with your expertise, how would they get in touch with someone like you? Or how are they going to get in touch with you, for example?
With me specifically?
Yeah, you specifically.
Well, go to the internet. It's morganstanley.fa.com/joseph.matthews. I think by getting somebody in the boat with you, in terms of a financial planner, an advisor that has that's consistent with what you're trying to accomplish. I mean, everybody doesn't get along with everybody, so you want to have somebody who's a true partner.
So that's actually a great point. So find somebody you align with, and just don't pick anyone because you think you have to.
Correct.
I think that's really worth repeating. Yes.
Absolutely, because it'll make it that much easier to be successful and again achieve those goals that you want to achieve, as opposed to making you feel like you're in the chair getting your teeth drilled.
Well, yeah, that's an interesting visualization. So you do ask a lot of questions when you're meeting with your clients. What are some of the questions potential clients should be asking you?
You can ask about education, experience, what type of investment process your advisor uses, how they're compensated.
Yeah. All the things especially for sometimes people don't like to ask that question. They feel embarrassed. They feel like, it's not their right to know. But it is their right to know, right?
Absolutely.
And it's perfectly acceptable.
Absolutely.
So let's break down that right away. That can't be something that holds you back from finding someone like you.
Correct.
You can ask the questions.
Correct, absolutely.
And next steps, so if someone comes, I know how I came in contact with someone like you. Where can someone go if they aren't watching the show or they are watching the show? Where can they go to put that first toe in the water?
I think that, one way that would be very productive would be to ask their friends or family who they use. And are they happy and why they're happy and how long they've been using that particular team or that particular advisor. Are they happy with the firm that their advisor works for? So again, I would use your close circle first. Another way might be, obviously you could go online, but that's, sometimes things online aren't necessarily as accurate as we believe they are. Right. So I would say the best way would be to start with just talking to your friends, family, other professionals, right? Your accountant, your attorney, and ask who they use.
It's been a fascinating conversation. I'm so appreciative of your time, and I think in today's climate, the best thing that we can do is empower ourselves. A little bit of knowledge, and then beyond that, action, right? Just get it going.
Absolutely.
Because if you don't start today, that waking up at 65 with your heart palpitating is just a moment's notice away.
And it's avoidable, though.
and it's avoidable. So I guess the word for today is be thankful,
Right.
be present,
Yes.
take action,
Yes.
get involved in your community, and be a role
Absolutely.
model.
Exactly.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, we'll see you soon. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
You too.